You are staring at a fire right now. Maybe it is a campfire, maybe it is a candle on a dinner table, maybe it is a video of a fireplace someone put on their television because the room felt too quiet. It does not matter. The moment the flame appeared, something in you locked onto it. You did not decide to watch, you just did. And you cannot fully explain why. That pull is not aesthetic, it is not habit. It is one of the oldest neurological responses in the human brain, and it has been shaping your species for nearly 1 million years. Once you understand what fire actually did to the human mind, you will never look at a flame the same way again. Your relationship with fire is not recent. It did not begin with campgrounds or birthday cakes or gas stoves. It began somewhere between 400,000 and 1 million years ago, depending on which evidence you trust, when your ancestors first learned to control it. Not just to survive it, not just to flee from it, to own it, to carry it, to tend it through the night. That moment, the moment a human being first kept a fire alive on purpose, is one of the most significant cognitive leaps in the history of your species, and your brain remembers it even if you do not. Anthropologist Richard Wrangham at Harvard University has argued that fire did not just warm your ancestors, it cooked them. His hypothesis, laid out in his landmark work on the cooking hypothesis, suggests that the controlled use of fire to cook food fundamentally restructured the human digestive system and redirected enormous amounts of biological energy toward brain development. Before cooking, your ancestors spent hours each day chewing raw food. Cooked food required less jaw muscle, less gut length, less metabolic energy to digest. That freed up energy went to the brain. The human brain tripled in size over roughly 2 million years. Fire, Wrangham argues, is a significant part of why. Your brain exists in part because your ancestors stared at fires, but fire did not just feed the brain, it changed what the brain did at night. For almost all of human prehistory, darkness was dangerous, predators were nocturnal, the forest was full of sounds that could not be identified. The dark was not peaceful, it was threatening. Fire changed that. A controlled flame at the center of the group created a perimeter of safety. It pushed the dangerous dark back. It allowed something that had never been possible before: relaxed wakefulness after sunset. Anthropologist Polly Weissner at the University of Utah studied the difference between daytime and nighttime conversations among the Juhon Bushmen of southern Africa, a group whose social patterns offer a rare window into what ancestral human life may have looked like. Her findings were striking. Daytime talk was dominated by practical matters: food, economics, complaints, social obligations. But nighttime talk, gathered around fire, shifted almost entirely into storytelling, singing, spiritual discussion, and the rehearsal of shared identity. The firelight conversation, Wiesner argued, was the crucible in which human culture was forged. Stories, mythology, shared belief, the foundations of everything you would recognize as civilization, all of it emerged in the glow of a fire that someone kept alive through the night. When you stare at a fire, you are not just watching light, you are sitting inside one of the oldest social rituals your species has ever performed. But why can you not look away? The answer involves something researchers call involuntary attention, a mode of focus your brain enters when it encounters stimuli that are dynamic, unpredictable, and non-threatening. Fire ticks every box. The flame moves constantly. It shifts and flickers and changes shape in patterns that are almost but never quite repetitive. Your visual system is exquisitely tuned to detect motion. It evolved in a world where motion meant predator or prey, and missing it could be fatal. Fire triggers that motion detection system constantly, but because the flame is controlled and familiar, it never tips into alarm. The result is a kind of neural suspension. Your threat detection system is engaged, but not activated. Your attention is captured, but not stressed. Psychologists sometimes call this state soft fascination, and it is remarkably close to the mental state produced by meditation. Fire is accidental mindfulness, and it appears to have measurable effects on the body. Psychologist Christopher Lynn at the University of Alabama has studied the physiological response to fire watching in detail. His research found that watching a real fire, with both the visual flicker and the associated sounds, produced significant reductions in blood pressure in participants. The effect was dose dependent. The longer the exposure, the greater the relaxation response. Crucially, a silent fire without crackling sounds produced a weaker effect, suggesting that the full sensory experience of fire, light, movement, sound, warmth activates a deeply integrated relaxation system that your brain carries from its earliest days. You are not just watching fire, your nervous system is using it. Think about what that means for the modern world. You live in an environment of relentless, high stakes stimulation, screens that demand decisions, notifications that require responses, social information arriving faster than any ancestral brain was built to process. Your stress system stays elevated in ways it was never designed to sustain, and then you sit near a fire or light a candle or put a fireplace video on your screen and something releases. You do not know why, you just know the room feels different. Your shoulders drop, your breathing slows, the internal noise quiets. What you are experiencing is your nervous system recognizing something it has known for a million years. Fire was not just a tool, it was the original anchor, the thing your ancestors returned to at the end of every dangerous day, the light that separated the safe from the unsafe, the known from the unknown, the group from the dark. Every human being who ever lived in the wild knew the feeling of walking toward a fire after hours of exposure to an indifferent and threatening world. The relief of it, the warmth of it, not just on the skin, but somewhere deeper. The signal it sent to a brain wired for danger. You made it, you are here, you are with your people, you can rest, your brain still receives that signal. Neuroscientist and author Antonio Damasio has written extensively about the body's role in emotion, arguing that feelings are not just mental events, they are physical states that carry the accumulated history of every experience your species has ever had. When you sit near a fire and feel something loosen inside you, that is not sentimentality, that is your body reading a signal it has been reading for longer than language has existed. It knows what fire means, it has always known. There's something else happening too, something quieter. Fire is one of the only light sources in human evolutionary history that was alive. It breathed, it responded to wind, it needed tending. The relationship your ancestors had with fire was not passive. They fed it, they protected it, they carried it from camp to camp. In some cultures, a fire was never allowed to go out. It was inherited, passed down, treated almost as a living member of the group. That dynamic, breathing, responsive quality is part of what makes fire so unlike every other form of light you encounter today. A light bulb does not breathe, a screen does not flicker with the randomness of something alive. But a fire does, and some part of your brain responds to that aliveness in a way it responds to nothing else. You are drawn to fire because fire is drawn to nothing. It simply burns, it asks nothing of you. It imposes no social expectations, no performance demands, no information to process. In a world that demands your constant cognitive participation, a fire is one of the only things left that will just be there with you, alive and uncomplicated, while you think or do not think at all. The philosopher Gaston Bachelard wrote that fire is the first object of human reverie, the thing before which our ancestors first truly daydreamed. He argued that every subsequent act of human imagination, every story ever told, every vision of something that did not yet exist, can be traced back to a mind that first learned to wander while watching flames. You are the inheritor of every one of those wandering minds. When you stare into a fire and feel your thoughts begin to drift, you are doing something your species has been doing for nearly 1 million years. You are not distracted. You are doing exactly what you were built to do. Tonight, if there is a fire near you, a candle, a campfire, a fireplace, even a video on a screen, you will look at it. You will not decide to. You will just find your eyes already there. And now you know why. Not because you are easily distracted, but because somewhere inside you, 1 million years of memory recognizes the flame and the oldest part of your brain says simply, good, you are home.